A small, intimate affair, but I guess, you know, we'll make a start. So I'll try and make it quite quick as well. So are you going to record? Okay, you let me know when you're ready. Okay, thank you everyone. Hi Tara, hi. So I'm going to talk to you today about 5 strategies to improve your PR, but I'm also going to talk a little bit more broader about digital PR and how it can help with organic search. And firstly, for those who don't know me, and even those who do know me but might not know my background, I'll just give you a little bit of an overview about my business, me and my background. I run Abode PR, which is a PR and content marketing agency that specializes in the vacation rental and short-term industry. My background was originally travel, and I worked in the Canadian tourism sector originally, and then have worked with lots of other sort of travel clients. And when I started in travel, I started when it was catalogues and brochures. So, you know, when Simon was talking about catalogues, you know, our biggest marketing expense was the travel brochure that was printed once a year. And we had airline tickets that you would have to post to people and get wait for them to come, wait a week for them to come from the airline, and then you know, do some manual entry and then post them out to customers. But I've also worked in other industries. I spent a bit of time with semiconductors and charities and creative industries and different sectors doing PR and content marketing, but my real love is travel. So I also had my own listing site for a while that was Canadian cottages in Canada, which is why that picture's there. It's a bit of a homage to Canada. But I started specializing in the vacation rental industry because it's such an interesting, fast-growing, transformative industry, and so hence why this is my niche. So I'll just talk a little bit about what I'll talk about. You know, I'm going to talk about what is PR, and I'm going to talk about the differences between earned, owned, shared, and paid content distribution, as well as about digital PR and how it fits in the world of Google search. And then also the importance of trust and the importance of building trust in your vacation rental brand, as well as the challenges and opportunities that the internet and digital and mobile have brought, you know, for businesses and doing your PR. And then I will run through 5 practical strategies that you can use in your own businesses. And this is a quote from Bill Gates, who is obviously the founder of Microsoft. And no one can actually prove that Bill Gates actually did say that, but it's all over the internet, so it must be true. And Bill knows a thing or two about building a brand and building a company. However, I actually believe that PR needs to be part of a marketing mix. You know, if you're not doing pay-per-click, if you're not doing other bits of marketing, you know, PR is the bit that you add on it. You can't rely on it fully. But what actually is PR? You know, PR actually, a lot of people think PR is about press releases, and it's not. That's a tiny bit of what public relations is. It is about media relations, you know, dealing with the press, dealing with journalists, getting coverage in various publications, but it's also about content creation and distribution, so getting your content in different sources, as well as a storytelling approach and reputation management, and also increasingly helping businesses with their thought leadership, as well as relationship building. And essentially, PR helps you to tell your story in a way and via a channel that will engage, attract, and retain your audiences. And for property managers, those audiences, those customers are typically owners, you know, owners, guests, and also partners. And what's the purpose? The purpose is to impact a positive action, and that is either usually to increase in awareness, a change of an opinion or behavior, encourage an action, whether that's to request information, book a holiday, give an email address, visit a website, you know, encourage an action, but it's also there to support your business strategy, so to help your business grow in the way that you want it to grow and go in the direction that you want it to go. Maybe it's to reach new markets, whatever is part of your own business strategy. And then why is PR so powerful? So I'll just do a little mix of, you know, where PR fits into that marketing mix. And if you think about marketing, and marketing is about telling your customers that you're great at something. So, you know, it's saying, I am a great lover. It's telling your customers something about you. And advertising is about saying that loudly and several times and amplifying that message. And branding is about getting your customer to understand that you have the solution to their problem. But public relations is about getting other people to tell your customers about how good you are. And when other people tell us something, we tend to trust it more. You know, we trust what other people say rather than what a company will say to us. So good content and earned media creates trust. It creates trust in your business. It creates trust in your brand. And so to bring it into, you know, where it fits in with online search and Google search, you know, we all know that virtually every buyer conducts due diligence by sticking something into search. So whether it's they're searching for your business, if they already know your business name, or they're looking for a solution to their problem. So, you know, they might be looking for a 2-bedroom apartment in the center of Paris near Notre Dame. And this is according to Expedia research in 2015, and it's probably way out of date now. But the average number of websites that a consumer visits before booking a trip, and that's any kind of trip, that's not just vacation rental, that's any kind of trip, is 38. So 38 websites a consumer will visit before they actually book, and that's in the research stage. So in order to be at least one, and you really want to be more than one, of those 38 websites, you need to be everywhere. And you know, as we know, Google is increasingly emphasizing content over technical gamesmanship in determining what it serves up to that search. Google takes it very seriously what it serves up when people are asking. And if any of you were, I don't know if Eric was in Paris, you know, there was a very good talk from Javier, I can't remember his last name, but he was head of vertical search and travel for Google, who talked a lot about the difference between paid search and organic search with Google and how they're completely separate. And your content delivery channels, you know, there's 4 main ways that you can get your content out there. And one is earned, one is owned, shared, and paid. And PR is essentially concerned with the earned, the earned, getting your content out there in an earned way, but it's also concerned with owned content. So the earned is obviously the media relations, the blogger relations, influencers, reviews, thought leadership, but the owned is your own website, your own blog, ebooks, white papers, your own social channels. You have control over those. That's the only thing, that and paid are the only things that you have control over. And only 3 of those contribute to organic search. So PR is essentially, it's about the owned as well, but it is about the earned. So it's about getting earned exposure for your content. And that content might be your website, it might be your product, it might be your service, it's your villas, it's your apartments, it's the articles that you might write, you know, all of those things. It's your photos, it's your videos, it's all the content that comes about from your business. And PR is also about adopting a storytelling approach to the way that you talk about your business. And storytelling is a very powerful way of getting your content out there and also getting that earned coverage. And there's real reasons behind why storytelling is so powerful and important, you know, apart from the fact that media really loves storytelling. And, you know, our brain is hardwired for stories. You know, right from the word dot, we're hearing nursery rhymes and fables and myths. You know, we learn through stories. And also stories help us to create connection with our audiences. You know, we can relate on an emotional level and we can really empathize and identify when we hear a story and, you know, how a story might solve the solution to our problem. And also stories are entertaining, you know, they're fun, they're much more interesting to listen to or to read than they are to, than some kind of sort of product marketing. And what are the digital challenges? You know, from a PR perspective, the digital challenges is that today everybody is a publisher. Anybody can put anything about your business or whatever they like anywhere. They can put it through their own blog, through their own social media channels, through review sites. Everybody has become a publisher. And of course, you know, the rising importance of search. You know, if you're not search optimized, you're not found. And then also the decline of traditional print media. You know, it wasn't that long ago that to be in a national newspaper, a print newspaper, was the pinnacle of what your PR would be. And today that's not the case. And also there's the fragmentation of media channels and the role of social media and digital influences in this space. But also there's the lack of regional control. You know, in the past, if you wanted to get a message out there to your that was relevant to your local audience, you would put it regionally and nobody would ever know anything about what you were saying outside of that small area that you were trying to reach. But of course, challenges all have amazing opportunities, and you know, the opportunity is you can become a publisher. You know, any business, any property management business can become a publisher, can be publishing blogs, publishing through their social media channels, you become a publisher yourself. And also that there is that opportunity to create content that is search optimized. And also the fragmentation and the change in the way that we consume media, that, you know, the big change has been how we consume our information has completely changed. Means that there's a huge plethora of opportunities to get to be seen, you know, in different places. And there's also the growth in niche publications that target specific audiences. So for vacation rental companies, you know, it could be things that you hadn't thought about, cycling magazines or wine magazines or, you know, family travel magazines, parenting magazines, you know, whatever kind of guests that your business is trying to speak to and attract. You could be looking at different publications that would be speaking specifically to the audience that you want to bring to your website. So there's a lot more opportunity to reach your buyers. And of course, everything is global. You know, if you're in your local newspaper online, you can be read by somebody in Alaska. You know, everything is global, and anyone can see anything. But the biggest change, what I think is the biggest change in terms of how PR can work for your business, is time. So not that long ago, if you were in the newspaper, that would last a day. You know, the eyes on that newspaper would last a day. If you were in a print magazine, it would last maybe a month, unless somebody kept it around on a coffee table. If you're on the television, you'd last maybe seconds or minutes. But now, with online, you can be online and seen almost infinitely, you know, for as long as a piece of online coverage lasts, which can be infinite, you're there. And I'll just give you an example. The travel company that I started a few years ago, I wrote an article. It was a very niche listing site. It was family holidays in Canada. And I wrote an article for what at the time was a very small blog site called Kiddie Holidays. And it was an article about, you know, staying in a cottage with a 3-year-old and a 1-year-old. And it's over 3 years old, this article. And this article generates at least one very genuine, good inquiry to the website. The actual travel website, has not had a tweet go from it. You know, it's not mobile optimized. It's pretty much dead, but it still gets inquiries through this with people either phoning up wanting to book or sending an email saying, I want to book that. And it's the long tail, you know, it's people looking specifically for something. But the reason I give this example is that this is over 3 years old. But to the people searching, they don't know it's over 3 years old. They're still, so it's constantly generating, you know, new traffic, you know, it doesn't end. So it's not time restrained. So I'll make it kind of a bit quick, because probably everyone wants to sort of get to the bar. But this is actually this is the nuts and bolts of it, really. And these are 5 strategies that you can use to improve your PR. And one of them is don't discount those small publications. You know, don't discount the ones that are speaking to that targeted audience. And also build relationships with the media. And I'm going to go through each of these and give some examples. And also develop your thought leadership. Create valuable content, and then also finally remember to PR your PR. But firstly, just a little note, you know, it's not all about you. And one of the sort of the biggest things that I have to kind of sometimes get some clients to really, and also this is very relevant for content marketing, is that it's not about you, it's about the people reading it, and it's about the solution that you offer and the problems that they have. It's not about how great your company is. So the first strategy is don't discount those small publications. You know, small niche publications like I talked about, cycling magazines, and all of that I'm talking about is online. Cycling magazines or wine or food, or ones that are specific to the destination that your business operates in, will mean a specific audience. They might look low in numbers of views, but they're specific and they tend to have a really engaged readership. They also offer that opportunity quite often for thought leadership and for expertise, to offer your expertise. So if you have properties that happen to be in really good cycling destinations, you can offer articles and information that is about your expertise. But be creative and think outside of the box. And also smaller publications tend to work really hard with their content. You know, they will share it through their newsletters, they will social it, they work hard with the content that they have. And just an example here is a company called See and Rent. And See and Rent have 60 properties in Tel Aviv, so they're very specific to one destination. And a couple of examples of working with niche publications. One of the COO of the company is a very dedicated vegan, and he told me that their most popular blog post, they have a very good content marketing and blog part of their business, and he said one of the most popular, or I think it was the most popular blog post, was an article about vegan restaurants in Tel Aviv. So we took that information and we approached Vegan Life, which is a big publication for vegan, you know, very specific audience, but it's got a very big readership in the US and in the UK and then beyond of vegans. And we wrote an article that was the COO of See and Rent's take on why Tel Aviv was one of the best places to go if you were a vegan traveler. And we talked about, you know, the 10 best restaurants that he recommended. And of course, for See and Rent, they get the call to action, they get a link, they get exposure. And that particular article, just in sort of a fairly short period of time, got 399 Facebook shares. And, you know, that's not likes, that's actually somebody taking that article and sharing it. And then also, See and Rent offered a press day to a journalist from Jewish News, which is very targeted London publication. And, you know, for a 2-night stay in one of their apartments, the journalist wrote a very nice article about Tel Aviv, but also about the apartment with the call to action. And it went to, you know, they have an audience of 330,000, plus it did actually go in the print publication as well. And then my next kind of tip, I guess, is build the relationships with, you know, build relationships with the media. Do your homework, search it, find out what journalists you want to be engaging with, and find out, you know, a really good way is to read what they write, you know, read what they write, find out what they're interested in. Most journalists use Twitter as a way to get information and resources, so it's look. And also remember that it's an exchange of value. You're providing the media with information, and they are then providing you with exposure. You know, it's a business relationship, but it's an exchange of value. And press visits, you know, as property managers, you've got accommodation that journalists and bloggers would like to stay in. And there is, you know, there is real value in doing press visits, but you also, as you probably all know, you have to be really careful, like the amount of, you know, bloggers, vloggers, influencers that contact asking for free accommodation, you know, is huge. You know, I've got 20,000 followers on Pinterest or on Instagram, you know, please let me stay for a week in your best ever, you know, accommodation. You know, it's that sort of thing. You have to be really careful. So do your homework. Find out which are the journalists that are really worth it, that really use the information that they have and will publish it. And I don't know if you know about this. This was quite a big sort of story recently called Bloggergate, where vlogger, a young vlogger, approached a hotel in Dublin saying, you know, let me and my boyfriend stay for 4 nights, and I'm a real influencer in the space. And the journalist outed this vlogger and made a really big, you know, he wrote a letter, a public letter saying, you know, how dare you ask me for a free stay, how dare you, you cheeky monkey, kind of thing. And unfortunately, what this vlogger failed to do is she failed to say why. She failed to say, you know, if you let me stay, I will do this, 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 and this is what I've done for other clients, and this is the returns that they have had. So it's really finding out the ones that are good to work with, and that, you know, it's not just how many likes they have, it's the engagement, it's the reach, it's whether they've got a blog as well, all those things. But just to give an example about how press trips can really work, Jane's Cottages is a very high-end cottage company in Canada, in Muskoka, and they have really high-end, beautiful properties about 2 hours from Toronto. And Jane was in the Times as it was the 5th best holiday in Canada. So that's competing against, you know, the Icefields Parkway, Whistler, you know, going to Niagara Falls, you know, going on the Rocky Mountaineer, you know, so really big holidays. So she was number 5. But also what transpired from this is the journalist then asked if, you know, loved the sound of her trip, and said, you know, can I stay for a couple of nights and I'll write a feature on Muskoka, and of course you'll be the call to action again. So just for a couple of nights, she's got, you know, a feature in the Times. And then the next example is about developing your thought leadership. You know, everybody has an expertise. And thought leadership tends to be, and it is more successful with B2B companies, but there's no reason why property management companies can't do it as well. You know, everybody has an expertise. So whether it's your expertise in the destination that you're in, or whether it's an expertise in the type of guest that you attract, or whether it's an expertise in the experience that you offer to your guests, you can really develop your thought leadership. And with this, you need to be strategic, and it does need to have substance. So you really do need to have information that you're willing to share and that you can share. But it takes also time to develop. And through doing your thought leadership, you have that opportunity to contribute articles to publications. So you can, and it's a really good way of getting coverage and getting your link out there and getting your name out there, is by contributing articles. And of course, it's engaging in conversations as well and targeting those niche audiences. And again, an example, you know, Steve, we've seen lots of Steve today. Steve wrote an article for FocusWire on tech and the transforming vacation rental industry. You know, it was an opinion editorial to a very targeted audience, you know, people who are interested in travel technology and the travel space, and, you know, read by high-level executives. And, you know, this article alone in about 3 weeks had 309 LinkedIn shares, you know, to a very targeted audience. And that's not likes, that's shares, as well as 23 Facebook shares. And you would expect a sort of a B2B to be higher on the LinkedIn than Facebook, but it's, you know, there's power in this stuff. And then it's, you know, create valuable content. So create content that is useful to your audience. And never ever promote, you know, never promote. It is that help, don't sell. And media have an obligation to their audience, not to you and not to me. You know, they have an obligation to their audience. And it's always add value to the conversation and lean on your expertise. You can solve a problem that a buyer has. And an example of this is the Book Direct campaign that obviously Amy started with VRMIntel. And this is, you know, it's the power of influencers. You know, VRMIntel obviously started this campaign, but also it was backed by Heather Bayer and Matt Landau, who really helped move it up. And it's an example of great storytelling, but also really clear call to action to a specific audience. And I believe in a very short period of time, they estimated that it reached a potential reach of 18 million. And then the final one is PR your PR. You know, the press love this too. The press are also, you know, their websites, their businesses, they love to have traffic come back, you know, and so it's really important to PR, if you've got coverage, to PR your PR. And then finally, you know, just some final points. It's really create your story and know your objectives, but also be persistent, be patient. One of the biggest things that I see is that businesses expect it to work in 2 months or 3 months. It's something that really has to gain momentum and can take a period of time. And it's also be creative and then review, you know, constantly review your assumptions. And that's that. So any questions?
So a couple of slides back, you mentioned create a press page, and do you mean by that promote on your website everything that has been published by way of thanking the place that published it on your behalf?
So 2 things I mean by that. So I mean make it really clear that journalists, who they can contact. Also, if you do press releases or something, it's a place you can house your press releases. So when you're sharing them through social media, it's coming back to your website rather than, you know, elsewhere. But then it's also, if you've got coverage, put it on there. You have to be careful with coverage, though, because there are some licensing laws of print publications. So you can't just put a whole publication there, but you can put an online or put a bit of it. So that's what I mean. Yeah. Should we just have drinks now? Good, okay, thank you.